Well, good morning. Hello, hello. I am happy to be with you today again, talking about COVID-19, the virus itself, and manganese. Where there's causation, all you find is evidence. So let's look at my latest evidence. In fact, I tried to share my screen here. Let me see if I can do it again. It should have, yes, there it is. Has my screen of one of several articles that I'm like to discuss today, and look at the virus itself. So this virus, we know it's a double membrane, right? Double membrane. That double membrane comes from the mitochondria, from my understanding, right? Double membrane comes from the mitochondria, and it also its leader RNA, viral RNA. The leader viral RNA is also goes. Viral RNA also replicates or bonds or pairs in the mitochondria. What do the mitochondria do? They take oxygen, we know, same old story, and put out ATP. So people with hypoxia are getting this thing. So this is in the main patients, this is not happening anymore. This stops happening. And in people who are obese, it's not happening either, because glucose has provided, cheap corn oil for the car all these years. And so the mitochondria kind of get weak, they die off. But they definitely get weak and mutate and help. And so the mitochondria have calcium in them, and they also have manganese that comes out and splits oxygen out of water, right? Okay, so we know that, we reviewed that. That's standard information, and the whole evolution of mitochondria and where they came from and how they took an oxygenated world and made us. So let's look at this virus, a double membrane, right? And inside it's got this viral RNA coil, as it were. And it's got the spikes that have the glycoproteins, sugar, fat, sugar, fat, sugar, fat, sugar, fat, glycoproteins. And it's actually made of pretty much glycoproteins, sugar, fat, sugar, fat, sugar, fat. Did I say sugar and fat? Remember, we evolved in a highly oxygenated world. 5 minutes. Goodbye. We evolved in a world full of clean water. 5 days. Goodbye. We evolved in a world where we had to really work for food. 5 weeks. Right? But we flipped that, haven't we? We put the glucose up here, and we put the oxygen down here. So the RNA is like, wow, new home, perfect home for me here on this planet that you've, flipped for me, for us, for the virus. It's just a thing. It's evolved as a result of what has happened to our planet. So we have to really put that on the table. We have to put how this planet has flipped, how we're eating all the time and barely breathing. We have to put that on the table. Our lack of clean water that probably has a lot of manganese in it. Why? Because fish, algae, they use manganese just to get their oxygen. Am I keeping you in suspense yet? I'm going to use purple for this, because I think that's the color, or blue, purple, I think. So in the middle of this mature virus, this is the virus here. This is COVID-19. You know what's in the middle? It's not even a part of it. It's not even an integral part of the virus itself. The virus is like a snowflake. It puts together very symmetrically. But you know what's in the middle of it? According to the CDC, 2 little ions of manganese. 2 little ions of manganese. And you know what they do? Let's look. Let's look at this paper. Acute respiratory syndrome, SARS protein is an endoribonuclease, the NSP15. You know what that is? According to my understanding, that's the lock. on the door that enables this virus to reproduce. It's transcribe, reproduce. Prefers manganese as a cofactor. Prefers manganese as a cofactor. It'll also work with copper. Very interesting. From my understanding, the SARS. The SARS will work with copper. And it only needs just a little bit. It needs 1, 2. Open the door. Unlock the virus. Pair with this. Transcribe. Translate. Reproduce. But you know what happens? There's another article. I'm sorry. I'm trying to get used to StreamYard, but I don't. Copper and manganese effects on ribonucleic activity by Terry Alger, and this was in 1970, back when chemistry was a little more on the table. Copper will also enable a coronavirus, but it's weaker. What really enables it is manganese. Just a little bit, though. Just a little bit. So I say take manganese. Take manganese, not magnesium, not Mg, Mn. Okay. Take manganese, and a lot of manganese disables this. Too many locks in the key. Too many locks, too many keys destroy the lock, and it cannot replicate. Great. So where's all our manganese gone? Where's it gone? Huh? When a mitochondria is in distress, here's our mitochondria, like a little kidney bean, MTC. When there's ischemia, stroke, concussion, hypoxia, stress, duress, when it's healthy, when everything's going fine and we're at the beach and we're just exercising, having a good time, calcium, it puts out calcium. And, golly, I need better markers. Sorry, folks. It puts out calcium this way. Yay, yay. But when the same transport channel, that's when everything's happy. But when this low oxygen, that channel, that calcium stays inside and it shoots out manganese. And what does manganese do? It splits oxygen out of water, right? We know that. So that oxygen, can be used. So in desperation, it splits it out. There's so much information about manganese and looking at it, what it does. So when it co-localizes with oxygen, this is another interesting thing. So we've got this manganese in the virus, and we're also going hypoxic. When it co-localizes with fluid and oxygen, when it busts the oxygen out of water, that is like fireworks. It's very explosive. And that's how they get iron embedded out of bedrock. They get manganese and they mix it with water and they blast the rock, and it's so explosive that they're able to get the iron pellets. That's just how it's done, pure and simple. And the world is filled with stainless steel. And a lot of it's coated in manganese to protect it. I don't know, they've got a coating going on there. So they mine for manganese, they mine for iron, because you don't get iron without manganese and water exploding it out of the rock. Pure and simple. So at a miniature level, that probably happens with us too. So, manganese splits this water out, which, I don't know, maybe it creates energy. I don't know. Or maybe that oxygen is recycled, in the mitochondria to make ATP. I'm not sure, but I know that, once, then the hydrogen ions build up, and that's not good either. You see a bunch of hydrogen ions around the Alzheimer's plaques. So hypoxia increases hydrogen, and And I would imagine, I don't know, I'm hypothesizing here, but where there's causation, all you find is evidence. All the purified water we drink, all the, we're not drinking naturally from streams and clear, clean water. We're drinking purified, blah, blah, blah. I'd be curious to see how much manganese has been taken out of that water or deactivated or whatever. We need manganese. So especially in light of how this virus is working on us. So this virus, as I see it, is an opportunist. We have destroyed the oxygen supply on this planet for the most part. We've overpopulated the planet. We have purified our water sources and farmed and glut. I'm guilty of it too. And that has provided a perfect incubation grounds for this virus. So what's the answer? I think the first course triage is start taking manganese. When I was at Johns Hopkins, forgive me for skipping on the name of the doctor who went to Africa and children had this horrible eye disease. And it was a vitamin A, boop, cleared it up. Vitamin A, boop, just a drop or two of that, etc. So it could be that simple as manganese may move in to say, hey, virus, there's more of us than there are of you. Now, I'm not sure what happens to the manganese when it splits, whether it's reabsorbed or I'm not sure where it's excreted. I don't know. I need colleagues to help me look at that. So all I know is that mitochondria get weaker and weaker during hypoxia, and manganese is a desperate attempt to salvage oxygen from fluid in our system. We're supposed to be 80-70% water. And that this virus in a low oxygen, in an oxygenated and low manganese environment, apparently, gets just enough manganese it needs. All the little locks around. This is just the manganese 1, 2. I couldn't believe it. It's like right in the middle of this virus. It's like, what are those manganese doing there? 2 manganese ions. They're not even part of the virus. They just enable it because it's very dynamic. Manganese is it's the main element in batteries. All the battery energy, manganese. So this is just out of the box, off the page. Where there's causation, all I keep finding is evidence. There's one more paper I wanted to share with you, which I don't think I can put on my thing, but the molecular biology of coronaviruses. It goes into replication and transcription. And when the RNA recombines with our RNA and starts to pillage, and manganese enables that. A little teeny tiny bit, right? Too much will kill it really quickly. So that's good to know. Copper and manganese effects on ribonucleic acid activity. Oh, that's another thing. Copper, also too much copper will. So what we said is there's a little bit of manganese in there. And from my understanding, copper, like it enables, calcium, copper enables our cells. Copper also enables some coronaviruses. Copper, works as well, but not as well. Manganese works perfectly, really well. So copper, just a little bit though. And when there's too much copper, it disables the virus. And when there's too much manganese, it also disables the virus. Yay! So what causes blood clots? This will be on your test. What causes blood clots? Too much copper. Too much copper. What controls the copper in the system? the mitochondria. So the mitochondria are in distress, chronic progressive hypoxia, out of business because glucose is giving us the corn oil to put in our cars, which we don't work very well with glucose corn oil not in my Porsche. I need an eye test. It's expensive too. Copper controls the activity, protects the integrity of activity in the cells, just like it protects the signal of the fMRI machines. They're all covered by copper. It protects the integrity of the frequencies that make us go. So when mitochondria are sick, dying, no one's controlling the copper. The copper is not being controlled, even minimally. The mitochondria are going out of business anyway because of hypoxia and overeating. And so there's uncontrolled copper in the system, as it were, and yet copper can stop the virus. So we're seeing all these blood clots. There may be a connection there. Not just that the mitochondria are being invaded. The mitochondria are being invaded with the leader RNA, and also the double membrane vesicles are made in the mitochondria. And so the mitochondria are the mitochondria are going out of business. In fact, the mitochondria, normal mitochondria have this bean shape. In COVID, they're all kind of engorged with electrons. They're out of business. And the virus is in there multiplying, making double vesicle membranes. Actually, it's not even the virus in here. It's the leader viral RNA, unit one. The leader RNA 5 unit is in here. And the double membrane vesicles are being made in the mitochondria, from my understanding. And so, and they're not doing the electron transport. They're not producing ATP. And all the glycoprotein is saying, "Wee, yay! We're going to make more and more and more." And then the 3 unit viral RNA goes into our nucleolus within the cell, right here where the DNA is, and works within the cell with the mitochondria and the endoplasmic reticulum. And I think the Golgi's involved in that somewhere. And they just get up and they start making viruses. Yeah. Okay. So what can stop the leader? The leader viral RNA? Manganese. Give a lot of it. Yay! Up for manganese. Ain't gonna kill you. I've been taking it for months now. I'm like, you can take too much, and I've been taking it for maybe too much, but I'm bolstered. I am bolstered with manganese, no question about that. And etc. So that's kind of where we're at today. Where there's causation, all I find is evidence. I will continue to talk on this topic. We will continue to review why how this virus has emerged in the environment we have created on this planet, how mitochondria evolved, helped us evolve and evolved itself. We have gajillions of mitochondria in us. We need to care for them. They are our friends. They enable the oxygenated brain that enables us to fly to the moon, for heaven's sake. We need to honor, understand, and cherish and protect that power of evolution that mitochondria have enabled us to have. We're throwing it to the dogs right now with COVID. Because why? Because we're not understanding the importance of mitochondria. In fact, at the end of the day, they host us. Thank you, mitochondria. Thank you for giving us such a free and wonderful life. Wow, what a journey we're having. With the great music, the great science, the great sport activities, the great creations. And you know what? It ain't over, folks. We're still evolving. In fact, in this planet that we've created, we are mutating. How are we mutating? Well, this is going to do a mutation on us. Everybody's going to get it. And we're going to mutate with this. This is the new mitochondria. Why? Because we flipped our planet. We have flipped it. We have flipped the planet. Last 200 years. There you go. 200 years. Flipped. Flipped our planet. We are flipped. And what is the result of that? We are mutating. We can't think. I tell you, I can't believe the lack of innovation or creative thought in a lot of young people. It's like, wow. So we've got to put this on the table and really think about it. I hate to be so serious about it and so direct, but it's that serious. So, okay, so, wow. So after this, I'm going to go ahead and make another one of my Proxia. In the last week, I made a 50-minute film. I think that's going to rock the science of music as medicine in dementia patients. It's quantitative, reproducible, strictly protocoled, great measures, reproducible, generalizable, standardized, works. Takes severe Alzheimer's patients. I talk about how to get into their brain and normalize them, hyper-normalize them. Get them talking better than normal aging people. It's phenomenal. That's what our implicit, deep, involuntary brain can do for us. They've lost everything. The Alzheimer's folks have lost everything that we think is, normal, is control. And yet you go in with music and you tap into these deeper limbic, cerebellar reciprocal circuitries, cerebral cerebellar reciprocal circuitries, and they come to life. They start talking, humor. It's just phenomenal. You'll see. So we need to protect that evolution. So the brain has, we kind of know the deal. Looks like a boxing glove, and there's our cerebellum. We love that little thing. It used to be big. In rats, it's kind of huge. This is the rat cerebellum, and it has all these reciprocal circuitries that we can explore quite a bit. But ours has gotten smaller because, we've developed areas of, vision and not the eye stuff, vision, creativity, language, math, we have demystified many things, and heaven knows where this is all going if we enable that trajectory of oxygenated evolution, right? That has enabled this to get bigger, and there's our premotor strip and our motor strip and our sensory strip and our visual area and our auditory that goes all over the place. And, our sense of self and sense of others and face recognition and speaking and making sense of stuff and all sorts of sensory, and the insula, our personality. And all of those things are connected to the cerebellum. Boop, boop. And this area of our prefrontal cortex that makes us think so, it's maybe got 3%, even though it's like, I don't know, maybe a sixth of the brain acreage. It doesn't even, it's relatively speaking, it's only got a little bit of brain cells in there. Whereas this area is tightly packed, the cerebellum, and it's got 40 to 50%. up to 50%. So if we didn't have a cerebellum, we'd just be a wet noodle. We'd just be couldn't do anything. So, and other things that it does. We haven't studied it a whole lot. It's hard to get to it in the fMRI. I think they should have a horizontal fMRI that can see that cerebellum clear as a day. That would be nice. We think we're in control here, and so we kind of stay up here. And this is very helpful in that here's our amygdala. Pants on fire. This is where our pants go off. Pants on fire. There's our amygdala, which will take over the whole brain and bring the body with it. Put us in all our muscles will go crazy. And so these are very strongly connected. Oh my gosh, I'm scared. I'm afraid. So this is the amygdala. Yeah, and the frontal cortex. Okay. So, so that's great. This is the rudder. This is the planner. And if you're having trouble making plans, find a mentor. Find someone who is older with more experience who can say, well, I've seen a few people take that path, and here's what might happen if you take that path. Here's the 5, 10-year, 20-year outcome of that path. I mean, just put that in the matrix while you're making this choice to become a juggler, a street, an opera singer. That I changed my mind about that one. But okay, no, I love singing opera. The best thing about the music industry is the music, right? So this is a good planner, and it helps to have advisors, so you can borrow their frontal cortex and get their advice. Get advice from the best people you can find to make your plans. You don't have to do it all by yourself. All right, I think I've talked enough. I'm excited about manganese. I've been talking about it as soon as I analyzed this thing, I thought, manganese, that's what we have to take to deal with this virus. Because it was hypoxic at that time, and the lungs were not taking in any oxygen. So manganese enables the system to still get oxygen outside of the lungs, okay? And that's how fish do it. I was going to say birds do it, bees do it, but no, fish do it, plants do it, even educated algae do it. Okay. Let's do it. Let's take some manganese and see what happens. Okay, goodbye, my friends. Thanks for listening. This pandemic's been a lot easier being able to talk to my colleagues through these lectures, so very much appreciated. And hope to see you all next Friday when I do my 50-minute film presentation for the American Psychological Association. I'm going to talk about how I did that film, how that film created itself from an oxygenated practices in 1 week. No, it was 9 days. A 50-minute film came together, and several learning curves for me, and I worked together with a small team, with another person on it. It was just tremendous. Thanks for listening, and have a great day, and stay safe.